Kidnapping Stories. I was kidnapped as a child by my father. Hi Reddit. Today I write this as a 36-year-old man. You will have to bear with me, as the details of this story are vague and a blur, but I will share what I remember. In the summer of 1993, I was in first grade. My parents had been divorced for many years with my mother having sole custody. As a child, I barely remembered my father, but he would make his brief appearance or send gifts on Christmas or my birthdays. Seeing my dad always made me happy as I was far too young to comprehend the complexities of a battered relationship or marriage. After school one day, I was shocked to come outside and see my father waiting for me. My grandma usually picked me up from school, but never my father. He had a small black car, a beater. He always seemed to dress nice. Suspenders and slacks, hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. I remember getting into his car and smelling what I now know as an adult to be clove. I later gathered that he had a habit of rolling his own cigarettes and gained that he must have been in a clove phase. There is a gap in time and now it's nighttime and I'm watching the fluorescent lights from miscellaneous stores fly by my passenger seat window. A gas station I can't remember, Brahms ice cream at an intersection, and more time loss. I'm now running around with another kid in and out yellow-lit apartment corridors. Some doors are open and we go into one. There are kids in a back bedroom playing Sega. I watch as Sonic zips through loops and listen to familiar music that momentarily makes me feel safe. I suddenly realize I'm very alone with complete strangers and find my way back outside. Another gap. My belly is full from bean burritos and I'm looking down a very dark hallway in my father's apartment. I'm standing next to an aquarium giving blue ambient light that sits on my face. I want to go home. Something doesn't feel right. In an attempt to comfort me, my father gives me a toy flashlight that projects the Batman symbol. I shine it down the black hallway. The cheap plastic of the switch fidgets and stubbornly slides clicking on and off. My father is on the phone and he's upset, voice raised. I apologize for not knowing what happened next, but I can confidently say I was safely returned by my father. My mother had no idea where he lived and we would sometimes drive around at night in efforts to find the mentioned landmarks to trigger my memory. I haven't thought much about this until tonight and it really made me feel wrong and uncomfortable. As you may have guessed, I do not have a relationship with him. Story 2. My mom kidnapped me twice, the first time I was around 3.5 years old, I really don't remember that. The second time I was 5 and in kindergarten. I do remember that time. I remember the day she took me away. I have memories from the time I lived with her and her boyfriend. I was gone for about 6 months. In a different state, enrolled in a new school. My dad hired a private investigator to track me down. I do still have a relationship with my mom, it's obviously never been the best. When I confronted her she acted like she did nothing wrong. Can't be a kidnapping if she's my mom, yeah okay. Didn't traumatize me at all, I am sorry you went through this op. Story 3. My total idiot of a dad, i.e. sperm donor because that's pretty much all he ever did, tried to kidnap me when I was about 5. After his family had unsuccessfully tried to have me removed from my mother, he tried to climb the fence and got stuck at the top by his trousers. I remember standing there looking at him and he was saying, "Shish." I shouted my mum that dad was stuck on the fence. She came out and took me inside and locked the doors. He was abusive, which is why they got divorced. My granddad put barbed wire across the fence and gates and he never tried climbing it again. Story 4. I was also kidnapped by my dad pretty quickly after their divorce. He went to a neighbor's down the street where a sibling was playing, got her to go to her other siblings and tell them their cat had kittens or something like that. So we showed up and our dad whisked us away. I remember him calling our mom from a payphone near a courthouse. No memory of when we were returned or what we did after that point. Story 5. My dad kidnapped me as well one morning before school. I wasn't supposed to be in the car with him but my mom let him see me when she walked me to the bus stop. He told me to get in the car and wait for the bus, but as soon as I did he locked me in and sped off. I don't really remember much of it because he did worse throughout my childhood, but I do remember screaming and crying wanting out. When I got to school finally, there were many cops and all teachers on deck. Story 6. Potential kidnapping story. So this happened to me when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Back then I always wanted to be out and about, so my parents would often take me to the park to go and play. I still remember this incident as kind of creepy. So, I was playing at the playground with a couple of kids my age when I saw a lady sitting at a bench. I remember seeing the lady signal to me to come over to her. When I came over to the lady, I just remember her telling me about her brother and how he was my age and didn't have many friends. She told me if she could take me to her house and play chess with him. I told the lady that I didn't know how to play chess, but she reassured me that she would teach me how to play when we got to her house. I agreed with the lady that I would come to her house and play chess with her brother. I know it's dumb, but hey, I was just a child who didn't know any better. I told the lady that first I would have to tell my mother that I was going to leave, and she just told me to not tell anyone I was leaving. This is when I started to get suspicious and quickly apologized to the lady and told her I had to go. I don't remember what she said to me, but I just remember going back to my mother. I never told my mom about this story and until a couple years ago, and that's when I realized what the woman's true intentions were. So yeah, if you're a parent and have small children, make sure to teach them about stranger danger and make sure you always have your eye on your child, always. Story 7. Kidnapping story. I was about 5 years old when it happened. I was in a kindergarten because both my parents were at work, so they didn't have time to take care of me. I got bored there really quick, so I tried to escape. However, I somehow managed to escape because the front door was not locked. After doing so, I was casually walking outside when a man started to approach me. I was still young, so I didn't know the dangers of the world well enough to protect me against them or simply avoid them. I couldn't see the man's face because he was wearing a hoodie with his hood on. But I remember him asking, "Are you alone out here?" I was young, so I replied with a simple, "Yes." After telling him this, he said, "It is dangerous to be here. Come with me, I'll bring you to a safer location." He immediately took me by my hand and I went with him, because I thought that he would bring me back to the kindergarten or home. After walking for some time, we went down to an subway station where he made me sit on his legs while he was sitting on a bench. He was talking, trying to start some small talk to me to distract me till the subway arrives. I was starting to get my suspicions because I looked at the final destination of the subway that was on a wall and didn't recognize it, so I asked him, "Where are we going?" But he didn't answer. So I looked to the stairs leading to the exit and saw my father in the distance. Of course, the first thing I did was running to him and tell him about the man. My father called the police that was patrolling the station and they managed to arrest the man. Later, my father told me that he was planning on picking me up with the car, but it wasn't working, so he took the subway instead. It was a miracle that he was able to save me. Be careful out there, because you don't know what could happen to you. Story 8. I was walking home, was on a pedestrian path alongside a major road in my town. A BMW with dark tinted windows slowed down alongside me. I thought it was someone going to ask for directions, but instead a guy bombarded me with questions like my name, where I was going, if I wanted to go to a club with them, how old I was. I said I wasn't interested and kept walking quicker. The car sped up to overtake me and the passenger started getting out of the car, so I ran forward and pushed his door into him. Heard another door open and just legged it. Went into my local corner shop and told the staff what had happened. They asked me to show them the car, and out of the window we saw it had pulled into a parking bay across from the shop. I got upset, so they called the police and let me hide out back. The police came and got information from me, and my partner literally ran from his work to take me home. Found out later on that I wasn't the first person they targeted. They tried taking 2 schoolgirls, and another woman too. People really suck sometimes. Story 9. As a teen, I was coming back from my friend's home after dark. I walked to the nearest taxi stand and I negotiated the fare, and was about to get in. 2 guys who were standing nearby offered that we can share the fare as they are headed in the same direction. Something seemed off about, and I declined and took the bus instead. I don't think it was anything about the fare. Story 10. When I was 11 or 12, a friend and I were walking around the community. A man pulled up in a car and said, "Your sister asked me to come get you." My friend said, "Oh, my sister?" And he said, "Yes." Both of us looked at each other and knew something wasn't right. He proceeded to try and get us in the car. We said no and ran away. The creepy fuck followed us around until we went into a 7-Eleven. He left. When we got back to her place, we asked her sister who he was, and she had no idea what we were talking about. Scary thing is, this is only one of many incidents that occurred in my adolescence. Watch your kids, monsters exist. Story 11. This is my dad's story. In 1979, my dad was 10 and really enjoyed collecting beer cans. He would go look for them with kids around his age and his brother. One day, I guess his brother tried to prank him and had the other kids and him run away from my dad. My dad didn't try to catch up and they got out of view. A few minutes later a car pulled up beside and stopped. Inside was a 30 to 40-year-old man. Just then another car pulled up behind that car, so the car I front started to drive. My dad lived in a small town and on that road there was only about one car every 10 to 15 minutes.